Hello, everyone. Have you ever felt like you study a lot but don't get better? You spend hours every day reading books, watching videos, taking courses, but when it comes to applying what you've learned in real life, it feels like a jumble of information that you can't apply at all. This is a question I've asked myself many times, and I believe you've probably thought the same way. So, why do we study so much but still don't get better? The answer is not simple, and that's why today I want to explore with you why this happens and, more importantly, how to fix it. I hope today's presentation will give you a deeper understanding of how to learn effectively, helping you not only learn well, but also apply knowledge to real life. Part 1. Why do we study so much but don't get better? Information overload. You are probably familiar with today's world, where information is everywhere. Every day, we can easily access thousands of lessons, books, videos, and courses. With just one click, everything is available. But does having access to so much information really help us learn better? In reality, information overload makes it harder for us to process and apply knowledge effectively. Why? When you take in too much without having an effective learning method, your brain doesn't have enough time to process and digest the information. As a result, the knowledge just goes in one ear and out the other without being retained for long. I have a friend named Nam. He studies very diligently every day, reading books and watching videos on marketing and business. But when I asked him how he applied what he learned to his work, he just smiled and said, "I study a lot, but I don't know where to start." He learns a lot, but doesn't truly understand or apply the knowledge in real life. So, where is the problem? When you take in too much information without the proper study method, your brain doesn't have enough time to process and absorb it. The result is that you feel overwhelmed and confused rather than making progress. Solution. When you study, be proactive in choosing quality materials and focus deeply on one topic. Don't just study to know more, study to truly understand and apply, learning to fill time, not to develop skills. Another reason we study but don't get better is learning to fill time, not to develop skills. We often feel like we have to learn to not fall behind. But when you study just for the sake of studying, you won't be able to focus on developing the skills that truly matter. I have another friend named Kwan. He joined many courses on management, self development, and leadership. But after a year, he realized that he still couldn't apply any of the knowledge to his work. He studied because he felt he had to study, without setting clear study goals. Kwan wasn't learning to develop skills, but just to complete the course. Solution. When studying, you need to have clear goals. Study to develop skills, not just to complete assignments. Part 2. The right way to study. Study less, but effectively. Focus on quality instead of quantity. So, how can we study more effectively? The answer is study less, but study quality. You don't need to study too much. What matters is studying deeply into one topic. I remember once participating in a leadership course. My teacher taught us only a few topics, but he asked us to read, reread, reflect, and apply what we learned. These lessons gave me a solid foundation to tackle challenges later in my work. Solution. Focus on quality, study deeply into one issue, and apply the knowledge immediately after studying. Don't chase quantity. Study deeply instead of widely. Studying deeply into a topic helps you understand it thoroughly and apply the knowledge in real life much more effectively. Studying widely might give you a little knowledge about many things, but it won't help you become an expert in any one area. I have a friend, Lynn, who works in finance. At first, Lynn tried to learn a lot of things from stock market analysis to financial ratios. But after a while, Lynn realized that she wasn't really good at any specific area. She then decided to focus deeply on one topic, stock analysis. And as a result, just a year later, Lynn became an expert in that field and made a lot of money through stock investment. Practice immediately. Learning theory without practice won't improve your skills. Apply what you learn immediately to real life. Practice is the best way to test whether you truly understand a concept. I have a friend named Dewey, a programmer. At first, Dewey took many programming courses, but he didn't work on real projects. When he started working on actual projects, Dewey faced many difficulties. Then Dewey decided not just to learn theory, but also to practice immediately on real projects. As a result, Dewey improved rapidly and became a skilled programmer. Part 3. Overcoming common learning mistakes. Learning like collecting knowledge. Many people study to learn something new, but they don't apply the knowledge to life. Knowledge isn't a collection. You study to use knowledge in real life. I have a friend who loves reading books on success principles, but when I asked him if he applied those principles to his life, he replied that he just read to gain more understanding. He learned a lot of theory, but couldn't turn it into real-world action. Passive learning. Passive learning is when you only memorize knowledge without truly understanding it. Passive learning doesn't help you develop real-world skills. You need to learn actively, meaning you must think, analyze, and apply what you learn to real life. I have a friend who is very good at theory, but when real life required problem solving, she didn't know where to start. The reason was that she only learned passively without thinking critically or solving problems on her own. Memory boosting tips for effective learning using mnemotechnics. One excellent way to improve memory is by using mnemotechnics, a memory technique involving visual images and stories. For example, if you need to remember a long list, you can imagine an interesting story that links all the items together. Example, if you need to remember a list of table, chair, and lamp, you can imagine a friend sitting at a table, relaxing in a chair, and turning on a lamp to read. Creating these vivid images helps you remember longer. Applying the Pomodoro technique. The Pomodoro technique is an extremely effective work and study method that helps you work in short bursts. For example, working for 25 minutes followed by a 5-minute break. You just need to focus entirely on a task during this time and then take a break to let your brain recharge. Example. Once, I tried using the Pomodoro technique in a big project. After each 25-minute study session, I took a 5-minute break and then continued. As a result, I felt I was more focused and understood better what I was studying. Pomodoro really helped me maintain my energy throughout the study session without feeling exhausted. Using effective note-taking systems. Effective note-taking is one of the most important tools to improve memory. You can use Cornell, mind mapping, or outline methods to organize information clearly and review it easily. Example. When I was in school, I always used the Cornell method, dividing the page into 3 parts: a large section for lecture notes, a side section for comments and questions, and a bottom section for summarizing the main points. This method not only helped me remember better, but also made it easier to review quickly. Conclusion. In conclusion, I want to remind you that effective learning is not about learning more, but about learning with purpose, deeply, and practicing immediately. Only when you learn to apply will you truly progress. Take the time to reflect on your learning goals. You don't need to learn everything, just focus on what you really need and study it deeply. We need to learn to apply knowledge, not just to know more. Thank you all for listening to today's presentation. I hope these insights will help you learn more effectively and achieve success in your learning Thank you for
journey.
watching the entire video. If you found it helpful, please subscribe to the channel to discover more interesting and useful health content.